Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan, and today we have got the Game Week 10 Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid video. The video where we have a look at some of the transfer trends and which kind of players we should be bringing in, removing, etc, etc, etc. Our record on the Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid is pretty good at the moment. We're getting a lot of hits and very few misses with these, so I'm very, very proud of that, guys. So if you are enjoying the Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid videos at the moment, please do make sure you leave a like. It really does help out the channel, and subscribe, of course, if you're new around here as well. But without further ado, guys, let's have a look at the rules of the video. So buys are players you probably don't have but should consider bringing in, sells are players that you probably have but should consider removing, keeps are players that you might be thinking about removing but I think you should keep them, and avoids are players that are pretty hyped up right now. I think they are potential traps that should be avoided. And I know I always say all of that stuff way too fast, but I know a lot of you guys know the way these videos work already. So let's get on with it, starting with some buys. The first buy of the video is going to be Wilf Zaha. So I do think Zaha, as long as you've got all of the major players this game week, as long as you've got all the major FPL assets already, I would say Zaha is probably the main transfer target for a lot of people this week, owing majorly to his great run of fixtures. We've got some really nice fixtures here, Leeds, Leicester, and even like Wolves are conceding a few goals recently. New manager, who knows who's going to be the new manager, but maybe we'll see if that plays out with a slightly more attacking team there as well. And after the Everton game, they've also got another good fixture there as well. They've got loads of good fixtures, basically. Southampton coming up, I think, soon. So we like this. We like this a lot. Zaha has been playing for a Crystal Palace team that's had some awful fixtures so far this season. Zaha did start off the season really, really well before his injury. And since coming back, over the past 5 game weeks, he's played 3 games. Not a huge sample size. 1 goal during that time. He's making a decent amount of chances for his teammates and also taking a few shots on as well during this kind of small period of time. Some difficult fixtures. I think he can push on now and get some decent goal returns. We know he's on penalties as well. We know he's had a really good season last year, beating he did his personal best for goal scoring, and we're expecting him to do a similar thing this year. We know he's nailed on as well, so when we're trying to identify those Crystal Palace players to go for in the attack, kind of difficult. A lot of rotation there, but we know Zaha is nailed. So I think there's a lot of things pointing towards Zaha being a really good pick right now. He's 7.3 million, so he's just a little bit cheaper than the likes of Madison's and Foden's and Bowens and Diaz's and those kind of players that it's kind of hard to afford all of those guys. But with Zaha, 7.3 million, that's affordable, right? So I like this pick a lot. I know he's a bit of an FPL troll going back, but he's got a good run of fixtures. He's nailed, he's on penalties, and he was showing some really good form at the beginning of the season and last season as well. Lots of positives to be taken here. I like him. Bye. Next up is Callum Wilson. So I am going in again with the Callum Wilson hype. We hyped up Callum Wilson last game week. We're going to do this same thing again because I know last game week people were kind of looking for an Alexander Isak replacement. And I know a lot of you guys are potentially still struggling with Isak in your team, or potentially Mitrovic being injured as well. We're not 100% sure how bad the injury is going to be, but if it's bad, we're going to look for a replacement. And for me, that replacement has got to be Callum Wilson. He is my favourite one. The guy who, whenever he is fit, he scores goals. And he proved that again in game week 9. So far, the Wilson hype is coming true. We've got some decent fixtures here. Brentford have been conceding a few goals over recent game weeks. I know they kept a clean sheet last week, but anyway, they have conceded a few goals over the course of this season. Finding it pretty difficult to keep clean sheets in general. Man United, they are kind of vulnerable a little bit. And we have got some other fixtures here. You know, Tottenham concede a few goals now and again. So I do think there are potential for goals for a good team like Newcastle, especially when all of this creativity is going to be back around Wilson. We're going to have the likes of Sam Maximan providing, Bruno Guimaraes providing, all these players pointing towards Wilson, who's going to score those goals. His underlying stats are really, really good this season, kind of better than the likes of Tony if you exclude penalties. And considering Wilson is also on penalties, so we've got another penalty taker in the buy section. Considering Wilson is on penalties and he's got better underlying stats than Tony so far this season, that's looking really good. That's looking really good. So I like him a lot. Wilson is my favourite forward to go for right now by a country mile in that 7 million bracket. So if you are looking for that forward replacement, easy decision as far as I'm concerned, Callum Wilson. Onto some sells. We're going to start you off with Trent AlexanderArnold, and it's kind of unfortunate right now that it's just not really going right at the moment for Liverpool defensively. They are conceding a lot of goals. Another 3 goals conceded against Brighton. Have they kind of hit a low point defensively? Quite possibly. We know the premium defenders aren't working. We know that we would much rather spend this money in midfield or attack. You know, a 7.4 million defender is taking up a lot of budget. If you can switch, move that money into midfield, you can get yourself an extra Maddison or a Zaha or a Foden or someone really good like that. You can maybe afford to upgrade to another decent forward as well. So there's loads of options of where you can spend that money. Now, Alexander-Arnold is probably going to get a few points, particularly in game week 12 and 13. There will be opportunities for him to get some points, but will he outscore much cheaper defenders by enough that it's worth the money? I don't think so at the moment. The great thing about these Liverpool defenders, these premium defenders, I guess, is that not only do they provide a fairly consistent clean sheet record, which is not happening right now, but they also provide those attacking returns. And I look at the attacking returns of Alexander-Arnold, I'm not sure they're sustainable. He's only created 5 key passes in the previous 5 game weeks. That's not very Alexander-Arnold-ish. 0.25 XG, we expect more, but we're not getting more. So I kind of am quite doubtful, really, about whether Alexander-Arnold is worth the value that the cost that he costs, I guess. So I do feel like he has to be a sell, especially if you can move that money elsewhere in your team and upgrade another position. If you've got 2 transfers you want to use, for example, I think a great way of getting money out of your team is to downgrade Alexander-Arnold. And if I was to target one team in terms of cheap defenders, I'll probably be looking at Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace defenders look pretty good right now, so that's probably where I'd be looking to go. My next sell is Marcus Rashford, perhaps a little bit controversial, but I wanted to pick a player here that is quite a popular player. I don't want to just tell you to sell, N'Golo Kante. Most of you guys already know that, right? You're probably not going to want that player in your team, but a lot of people do own Rashford, and I do have some doubts about his upcoming fixtures. Now, one of my major doubts, I suppose, is the fact that I don't really see where he's going to get these goals. Everton away in the FPL app on the FPL website, that's considered an easy fixture. I don't think it is an easy fixture at all. I think it's actually quite a difficult fixture, particularly for Marcus Rashford. So Everton actually have the best defensive record in the Premier League so far this season. They've conceded the least amount of goals. And also, when you look at some of these teams, you look at Everton, you look at Spurs, these are teams that really do like to sit back and soak up that pressure, which does not work for Rashford's counter-attacking style of football at all. So, where is Rashford going to get the points here? The fixtures are difficult from a defensive point of view, but they're also fixtures that don't suit the playing style of Rashford or perhaps Manchester United in general. So I don't really know where he's going to get the points. Obviously, he has scored 2 goals, 2 assists in his last previous 5 game weeks, 4 games played in that time. And it's kind of unsustainable, maybe potentially. His XG and XA is not quite, it's less than half really, or about half what he's actually returning. Is he that good that he's going to consistently overperform by that level in these difficult games? For me, I don't think he is. So if you guys are looking to get new midfielders into your team, then maybe Rashford is the one to sacrifice. And one more thing, not really sure I'm too keen on Rashford's price point, really. There's not really too much going on in the 6.5 million midfielder bracket, really. If you can upgrade him to a Zaha, great. Trossard, maybe. Martinelli, you're not going to buy him now, are you? So you're probably looking to sell Martinelli soon as well. So yeah, it really is all about those 8 million-ish midfielders at the moment. So maybe you can try and upgrade Rashford to somewhere around that mark. On to some keeps. We'll start you off with Luis Diaz, who is, a regular on the keep section. I know people are really disappointed with Liverpool in general, but as I always say, you're not picking a whole team, you're picking an individual player, and you still cannot complain about Luis Diaz's performances. And if you are complaining about Luis Diaz's performance so far this season, then that feels kind of ungrateful, right? Because Luis Diaz has been one of the few shining lights in this Liverpool team so far this season. He really has been actually pretty decent. He is getting consistent returns still. And I do feel like he's worth holding through the kind of difficult fixtures against Arsenal and Man City because the fixtures after that are really good. So I would hold him through because even though Liverpool are conceding goals, they are still scoring goals. And Luis Diaz seems to be a big part of that. I think that he's still going to get some more returns. Even these Arsenal, Man City games, I know they look tough on paper, but kind of what we always say with, I've said this a few times on this channel before, but I'll say it again. When you're looking at attackers, often you want to consider form more than you do fixtures. When you look at defenders, you probably want to look at fixtures more than you do form. And Luis Diaz's form is fine, even though the fixtures aren't great. Arsenal, Man City, both teams that are capable of conceding goals. I mean, Man City conceded, several goals against Manchester United. Arsenal, they conceded against Spurs last week. This is all in the last few days, right? So these teams are capable of conceding goals. I think Luis Diaz can score against each of these teams. If you're going to back one player to score against these teams, it's going to be Luis Diaz, right? So I think he's worth holding through. I wouldn't be buying him now necessarily, But if I already had him, I think I would probably be keeping him. I'd also be keeping Ivan Toney. I don't know why. I always go to say Ivan Toney. It's Ivan Toney, right? Anyway, I still think he's a reasonably decent pick to go for, to keep. Would I be buying Toney? Maybe. If you guys are looking for those forward replacements, Toney would be one of the favoured ones. I still do prefer Wilson, but would I be making that trade? This feels really luxury. If you're removing Toney right now to go for someone else, that to me feels like a really luxury transfer. Do you think Brentford are capable of scoring against Newcastle? At that Brighton game, we saw Brighton really attacking, really, actually leaving some vulnerabilities defensively. Maybe Toney can go there and get some goals there. Chelsea, they're definitely not over the hill defensively yet. Aston Villa, maybe starting to get more of a tougher game, but I'm not sure. I feel like Toney, there's still some life in him yet, and I think you would be a little bit kind of premature to ditch him quite yet. I think you can stick with him. Like I say, if you want to remove him, then it feels luxury. Is it worth using a transfer to remove someone like Toney, who's actually not doing too badly at all? Can you use your transfers elsewhere? And if you don't have any other problems with your team, can you save a transfer? We're going to have this blank game week in game week 12. Would it be more beneficial to save your transfers for then? I believe that if you have Toney, that's not going to be a major concern in your team and probably not worth the transfer. And finally, some avoids. We'll start you off with the slightly less controversial one, and then I've got an absolute banger controversial avoid for you guys today, which I'm looking forward to reading the comments. I really am. But first of all, Jesus, and I don't think this one is too controversial as an avoid, because I think we can kind of apply this to all Arsenal players, I would say. Probably not a buy this game week, just because we have got that blank coming up. If you already have a Jesus, I would absolutely keep him. And I do want to reiterate the fact that just because a player is an avoid, it doesn't mean they're a sell, right? It just means that you probably shouldn't buy them. The problem is with Arsenal players, and I'm sure you're fed up of me talking about Saliba, but quick shout out to Saliba, who is also an avoid. If you buy in an Arsenal player right now, you're probably going to have to sell him again in game week 12, especially if you have the likes of Haaland in your team, if you have Cancelo in your team, and you want to keep these kind of players and you want to hold them through the blank. You're probably going to have to sell some of your Arsenal players, right? That's probably going to happen. Like Martinelli, he's also going to be probably on the chopping block for a lot of people very, very soon. So if you are buying an Arsenal player now, you're almost certainly going to have to sell him again in game week 12, which means a one player is not going to cost you one transfer, but they're going to cost you two transfer. And you have to ask yourself, are these players worth essentially a -4? Because it's two transfers. You know, it's like taking a -4 essentially, isn't it really? Is it worth it? Probably not. The fixtures are okay, don't get me wrong. And Jesus is a very, very capable forward. If I already have him, you know, I'm not spending two transfers. I'm spending one transfer to remove him later on down the line, right? But right now, I would not be bringing in Jesus. I wouldn't be bringing in Martinelli. I wouldn't be bringing in any of these Arsenal players. Man City is slightly different. One, because they have a great fixture next in Southampton. And two, because they are just so crazy good right now that they will make up for it. Am I confident Jesus can make up for it? I don't think he can do any, or you know, I don't think he's that much better than some of your other options who do have a fixture in game week 12. Your Callum Wilson, your Harry Kane maybe in the forward position. You know, if Mitrovic is available, then him. You know, we can go on and on. I think there's just other forwards that are more worth going for this game week, who only cost you one transfer because you don't have to take them back out again, and can pretty much get the same points, maybe even more points than Jesus. And the final avoid, the controversial one, is Kieran Trippier. And I can't quite believe I'm putting him in here myself, because every single week Trippier is one of the most popular transfers in. It seems like he's the most popular transferred in player pretty much every single game week over the last few game weeks, and his returns have been reasonably consistent. But, and I think one thing is kind of really swaying me, and that's these fixtures. I don't know if I like these fixtures from a defensive point of view. We've seen Brentford score a lot of goals this season. Manchester United, they score goals. Everton, okay, fair enough. Pretty decent fixture for a defender. Spurs, again, probably going to score goals. How many clean sheets are we getting from this next 4 games? I feel like you're lucky if you get one. One clean sheet would be great, really, wouldn't it? And Newcastle have not really kept too many clean sheets. I know Trippier got a clean sheet last week, but that's only because he was substituted off because Newcastle were winning by so much. He didn't really need to stay on the pitch. So, you know, it's kind of a bit of an anomaly. Usually, Trippier would have lost his clean sheet in that game and not got the bonus points, and it would have been a depressing day at the office for Trippier owners. But I kind of feel like that's kind of obscured things a little bit. So I don't expect him to get too many clean sheets. In terms of attacking returns, I mean, it's possible, right? He's got 1 assist in the previous 5 game weeks, but that assist was from, winning a penalty. Is that sustainable? Perhaps not. He is still making a lot of key passes, though, but the shots are not great. He's not taking too many shots. He's at least creating a few chances. Has been unlucky not to have got a, maybe an assist from open play so far, or, from a set piece, perhaps. But overall, 5.5 million is a quite premium price for a defender. And since we're moving away, or trying to move away from those premium defenders and trying to spend a little bit less money on defenders, because defenders, no one's keeping clean sheets, there's so many goals, there's so much value, more value in attack at the moment, then would I be going for Trippier now? That's the question. And the answer is probably no. Now, if I already have Trippier, would I keep him? Yeah, why not? Why not? There's no reason to not keep him for this game against Brentford. I say that, I actually might be removing him myself, but we'll talk about that on another video. But would you be buying him now? I think if you are buying Trippier now, you may have missed the boat. I think you're a little bit over the hill there, and I'd be interested to see what you guys think. Obviously, I think Trippier is a potential keep, but if you don't have him already, I think it might be too late, and I think we probably need to be looking at some different defenders, some cheaper defenders who have some better fixtures, who maybe have some slightly better underlying stats as well. I think there are defenders like that elsewhere, which I'm sure we will talk about in other videos. We spoke about it a little bit on the strategy stream from yesterday. Go check that out if you want some more detail on these defenders that I'm potentially targeting myself. But for Trippier, I'm afraid, for me, it's an avoid. So in summary, guys, money out of the defense. We don't want to be spending too much money on the defense right now. There's just no value in the defense. There's too many goals being conceded. We want to be putting that money in attack. And instead, let's try and go for some cheaper defenders with good fixtures. I think that's probably the way. Try and cheese a couple of clean sheets that way, because who cares? Defenders are 2-point merchants, 1-point merchants, 0-point merchants in some situations. Cough, AlexanderArnold. So, yeah. Also, in terms of forwards, I think we just need to kind of wait, see what the situation with Isak, Mitrovic, are they injured? Because that's probably going to be a priority area for your transfer. So wait a few more days, guys. See what the managers are saying. See what the press conferences are saying in regards to those forwards. Are they available? Are they not available? If they're all good to go, we can go wild with our transfers. If they are injured, then that's going to be the priority area. There we go, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video today. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe if you are new around here as well. Don't forget, guys, all of the stats today have been provided by Fantasy Football Hub's Opta Stats tool, which I thoroughly recommend. If you want to go check that out, the link is at the top of the description. Go check it out. You won't regret it. And that's it from me today. Plenty more videos to come this week. We've got the 100 Experts video coming tomorrow, then my team. Then on Friday, I have no idea what video I'm going to make. I really don't. If you've got any suggestions or videos you'd like to see on Friday, do let me know. But I'm sure we can figure out something pretty good. But there we go, guys. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.